Now what the hell do you think you're doing with that tin star, boy?
Watch that boy shit, redneck. You talking to the sheriff of Rock Ridge.
A comedy classic with a hidden secret, Blazing Saddles, is one of the most famous comedy films of all time. It broke all the rules, made people laugh. It shocked audiences when it came out in 1974. For decades, people have watched it over and over, quoting its funniest lines and talking about its wild scenes. But there's one secret that even the biggest fans have missed. It's not a deleted scene or a behind-the-scenes fight. It's something much smaller, something quiet. And yet, this one thing might be the key to why the movie works so well. Gene Wilder, who played the mysterious gunslinger known as the Waco Kid, finally revealed it years later. Once you understand what he did in that role, it changes everything. It makes you see the movie in a completely different way. While everyone around him was loud, wild, and over the top, Wilder chose to be still. And somehow, that stillness became the film's secret weapon. His performance wasn't just funny, it was deep, sad, and full of meaning. In a movie that often felt like a circus, he was the calm center holding everything together. And what's truly amazing is how close that role came to never being his at all. A last-minute call that changed film history when Mel Brooks began working on Blazing Saddles. He already had someone else cast as the Waco Kid. That actor was Gig Young, a respected Hollywood veteran who had won an Oscar. On paper, Young seemed perfect for the part. He had the right age, look, and experience to play a washed-up gunslinger. But things went wrong very quickly. On the very first day of filming, Young looked sick. He was sweating, shaking, and slurring his words. At first, people thought he was just acting, but soon it became clear he was going through alcohol withdrawal. By the middle of the day, he collapsed. The movie was in trouble. Brooks had to stop everything. He needed a new actor, and he needed one fast. Instead of calling agents or holding auditions, Brooks picked up the phone and called Gene Wilder. He didn't give him a script or offer big money. He just asked for help, and Wilder didn't hesitate. He said yes right away. He got on a plane and flew to the set within 24 hours. He hadn't read the script or rehearsed the role, but when he arrived, tired and jet-lagged, he stepped in like he'd been preparing for years. What started as an emergency fix became one of the greatest comedy performances ever. Becoming the Waco Kid in less than a day, it's hard to believe that Gene Wilder had no time to prepare for the Waco Kid. Most actors spend weeks learning lines and getting into character, but Wilder had only hours. Still, as soon as the cameras started rolling, he was completely transformed. He didn't just act the role, he became it. The Waco Kid wasn't loud or silly like many other characters in the movie. He was quiet, thoughtful, and full of pain. Wilder played him like a man who had seen too much and felt too much. His hands shook not just from drinking, but from old wounds and lost hope. What made Wilder's performance so powerful wasn't how funny he was, it was how real he seemed. In a movie filled with jokes and chaos, he brought something deeper. He made the audience care. And maybe that's why his version of the Waco Kid became so iconic. If Gig Young had stayed in the role, the character might have been played for laughs, but Wilder gave him soul. He made him human, and that changed the entire movie. Suddenly, Blazing Saddles wasn't just silly, it had a heart. Why Gene Wilder refused to be funny when Gene Wilder agreed to play the Waco Kid? He had one clear condition. He told Mel Brooks that he wouldn't play the character for laughs. That might sound strange for a comedy, but Wilder had a reason. The rest of the movie was already full of outrageous, over-the-top humor. There were loud jokes, crazy scenes, and characters breaking the fourth wall. Wilder didn't want to add to the noise. Instead, he wanted to bring balance. He believed that being quiet and serious would make the comedy even stronger. And he was right. His calm presence made the rest of the film's madness feel funnier. It gave the audience a place to rest, to breathe, and to feel something real. Mel Brooks later said that Wilder's performance gave the film its backbone. Without that grounded, emotional center, the movie might have spun out of control. But thanks to Wilder's stillness, everything came together. He didn't try to steal scenes. He didn't overact. He just was the Waco Kid, tired, wise, and strangely noble, and that choice made all the difference. The comedy duo that never was Sony. The most surprising facts about Blazing Saddles is that Richard Pryor was almost cast as Sheriff Bart. In fact, he helped write the script. Mel Brooks wanted Pryor in the lead role because of his raw talent and fearless voice. But the studio got nervous. Pryor had been in trouble, and they didn't want to take a risk. So they cast Cleveland Little instead. Little did a fantastic job, but it's hard not to wonder what the movie would have been like if Pryor and Wilder had teamed up. The two actors later made several hit films together, like Silver Streak and Stir Crazy. Their chemistry was electric. Imagine if that magic had started in Blazing Saddles. Wilder himself often thought about it. He never seemed bitter, but he did wonder how the tone of the movie might have changed. Pryor brought a wild energy, and Wilder brought quiet pain. Together, they might have created something even more unforgettable. Still, Pryor's influence was felt in every scene. His sharp humor and deep honesty shaped the script, even though he wasn't on screen. His spirit was there, especially in the movie's bold take on race and power. The quiet leader on set. Wow. Mel Brooks was the loud, passionate force behind the camera. Gene Wilder was the quiet leader on set. He didn't yell. He didn't take control, but people noticed his calm strength. When things got stressful or chaotic during filming, Wilder helped keep the mood steady. He supported younger actors, offering advice on timing and delivery, not in a show-off way, but in small, kind moments. Many cast and crew members later said he was like the emotional anchor of the movie. He kept things balanced, and while Blazing Saddles was being filmed, Wilder was also working on another idea. During breaks, he talked to Mel Brooks about a new story. What if Dr. Frankenstein's grandson wanted to escape his family legacy? That idea turned into Young Frankenstein, one of the most beloved horror comedies ever made. It's amazing to think Wilder was acting in one legendary film while creating the next one. It shows how deeply creative he was, not just as a performer, but as a thinker, a writer, and a partner. The sadness underneath the smirk. People often remember the Waco Kid for his funny lines and laid-back style. But if you look closer, you'll see something deeper. Wilder played him as a man who was truly hurt. His shaky hands weren't just for laughs, they were signs of trauma, maybe even post-traumatic stress. Wilder chose to show that pain without making it obvious. He didn't cry or break down. Instead, he paused. He went quiet, and in those silences, you could feel the weight of what the character had been through. That's what made the Waco Kid feel so real. While other characters in the movie were yelling or joking, Wilder was remembering something sad. He made people laugh, yes, but he also made them feel. That's a rare gift in comedy. Mel Brooks later said that Wilder brought something to the role that wasn't in the script: heart. It wasn't about being dramatic, it was about being honest. And that honesty helped Blazing Saddles become more than just a joke, a legacy built on quiet genius in the end. Gene Wilder didn't just save Blazing Saddles, he changed it. What started as a rushed favor became a performance that still stands out decades later. He didn't use big gestures or loud jokes. He used quiet. He used stillness, and somehow, that became more powerful than any punchline. His calm gave the movie its soul, and his sadness gave it depth. Without Wilder, Blazing Saddles might have been funny, but it wouldn't have felt human. That's what fans often missed. That's the secret that was hiding in plain sight. Wilder didn't just act. He listened. He felt. He brought a quiet truth into a loud world. And because of that, his performance will never be forgotten. He reminded us that in comedy, as in life, sometimes the softest voice is the one that leaves the deepest mark. A quiet sadness hiding behind the laughter. When people think about Blazing Saddles, they often remember the outrageous jokes, the wild characters, and the fearless way the film handled race, politics, and society. But hidden in the middle of all that noise was Gene Wilder's quiet, thoughtful performance as the Waco Kid. While everyone else on screen seemed loud and chaotic, Wilder played it differently. His character was soft-spoken, tired, and clearly holding back deep pain. He wasn't just a drunk ex-gunslinger. He was a man who had seen too much and lost too much. The movie never fully explains what broke him, but you can see it in his eyes: the sadness, the exhaustion, the regret. Wilder didn't need loud jokes to make people laugh. His silence spoke volumes, and that silence also hinted at something deeper. Something most fans missed the first time they watched the film. Even in the comedy, Gene Wilder brought real emotion, and that's what made his role unforgettable. The scenes that couldn't stop the crew from laughing, and Wilder's calm, quiet delivery wasn't just powerful, it was almost dangerous. Not to the story, but to the people trying to film it. Many of Wilder's lines were delivered with such perfect timing and deadpan seriousness that the cast and crew simply couldn't keep it together. Sound technicians, camera operators, Even director Mel Brooks himself often burst into laughter during takes. Sometimes Mel had to leave the set because his laughter was ruining the audio. One line in particular, "These are just simple farmers. You know, morons," was so unexpected and brilliantly timed that it caused multiple takes to be scrapped. Even Cleveland Little, who played Sheriff Bard, struggled to stay in character during scenes with Wilder. He wasn't trying to be the center of attention. He was simply reacting, being natural. But that naturalness made him stand out. What's more amazing is that Wilder didn't break character, even when everyone else did. His straight face was his superpower, and it helped create some of the film's most memorable moments. The powerful scenes that never made it to the screen. While Wilder's performance in Blazing Saddles was already deep and emotional, there were even more powerful moments that never made it into the final film. According to people who worked on the movie, several scenes explored the Waco Kid's backstory and pain more deeply. These scenes showed a quieter, more broken side of the character. But because Blazing Saddles was such a fast-paced, joke-heavy movie, these emotional moments were cut to keep the rhythm light. That decision might have helped the comedy, but it also meant the audience never saw the full picture of Wilder's performance. Some say those deleted scenes contained his best work moments. That could have added more depth and heartbreak to the character. It raises an interesting question. Would the film have been stronger with those scenes left in? Or would they have slowed it down too much? Either way, the mystery of what we didn't get to see only makes Wilder's performance more fascinating. It leaves fans wondering how much more emotion he brought to the Waco Kid that we never got to witness. Why Gene Wilder broke the rules quietly in most comedies. Especially in the 1970s, actors were expected to go big. That meant wild faces, loud voices, and over-the-top behavior. But Gene Wilder did something completely different. He stayed still. He stayed calm. While everyone else was pushing the limits, he held back. And in doing so, he stood out more than anyone. His performance in the jail cell scene, where he introduces himself while lying half asleep on a bunk, is one of the most iconic in the film. He barely raises his voice. He barely moves. But he captures your full attention. That was the magic of Gene Wilder. He trusted the audience to understand him without shouting. He knew that being quiet didn't mean being boring. It meant being real. This choice was risky, especially in a film full of wild characters. But it worked. It worked. Because Wilder wasn't trying to steal the spotlight. He was trying to serve the story. And that made his performance even more powerful. A new beginning born on the set, believe it or not. One of Gene Wilder's greatest film ideas was born right in the middle of Blazing Saddles. While filming, Wilder had a small conversation with Mel Brooks. He asked, "What if the grandson of Dr. Frankenstein wanted nothing to do with the family legacy?" That simple question, shared between takes, became the foundation for Young Frankenstein. At first, Mel Brooks wasn't interested. He was focused on finishing Blazing Saddles. But Wilder believed in the idea. He started writing the script himself. He didn't wait for permission. He didn't wait for praise. He just got to work. When Brooks finally read the draft, he was amazed. The film became a huge success. And Wilder's role in creating it was key. He co-wrote the script, helped shape the tone, and even guided the emotional moments of the story. Without that quiet conversation on the Blazing Saddles set, one of the greatest comedy films ever made might never have existed. Wilder's creativity didn't shout, it whispered. And that whisper changed comedy history. A quiet fight against the studio system. Even though Gene Wilder wasn't a producer or director, he played a huge role in helping Blazing Saddles stay bold and honest. The studio wanted to change things. They were nervous about the film's language, racial jokes, and direct attack on American hypocrisy. They asked Mel Brooks to remove or soften many key scenes, but Wilder stood by Brooks. He told him to stay strong and not give in to pressure. He believed the movie had to be uncomfortable. That's what made it real. Comedy, he said, should challenge people, not protect them. This kind of support wasn't loud or dramatic. It was quiet and steady. Wilder didn't make speeches. He just stood firm. He knew that changing the film to make the studio happy would take away its power. Without him backing Brooks behind the scenes, Blazing Saddles might have been a very different movie. He used his reputation and success to protect the story's raw honesty. That's not something fans saw on screen, but it mattered just as much. Why Wilder's performance still matters today. Many people remember Blazing Saddles for its loud, crazy comedy. But when they think about what made the movie special, that often come back to Gene Wilder's role. His performance gave the film heart. It gave it balance. Without him, the whole thing might have fallen apart. The Waco Kid wasn't just another joke. He was the emotional center in a world of madness. He was the calm voice asking the important questions. That's why his performance still feels fresh today. It wasn't loud. It wasn't silly. It was smart, grounded, and honest. And that honesty gave the wild comedy around it more meaning. Over the years, people have come to appreciate just how good Wilder was in the role. His quiet strength made the loud moments louder and the funny moments funnier. He gave the film something that most comedies don't have: depth. And that depth is what helps Blazing Saddles remain important decades after its release. The legacy that lies on Gene Wilder didn't just act in Blazing Saddles, he helped shape it. He helped protect it. And he helped elevate it. His performance wasn't just another funny role. It was a lesson in how to mix comedy with emotion, how to use silence as a tool, and how to stand firm when the system tries to silence you. Because of Wilder, Blazing Saddles wasn't just funny, it was meaningful. His work helped the film earn a place in the National Film Registry, preserved as a piece of American cultural history. But more than that, he left behind a new kind of comedy, one that didn't need to yell to be heard, one that trusted the audience, one that believed in heart as much as humor. Today, fans still watch Blazing Saddles and discover something new in his performance, something quiet, something powerful, something true. Gene Wilder proved that comedy doesn't have to be loud to be revolutionary. Sometimes, the softest voice says the most.